and I appreciate the introduction and grateful for the invitation to be here to share with you. I have a presentation while we digest our lunches before we do movement. So we had a few minutes to work on that because that might not be fun to do some yoga right after we eat, but we'll give it some time. So yes, I call myself an earth worker. I love to nourish the souls, all of us, our bodies, and the earth. And of all these things, one of my most important titles is a disciple of Jesus Christ. You can switch the slides. So when I say nourishing our body and our soul, our bodies and our spirits are our soul. They are together as one. Our bodies and our spirits are made of matter. In D&C 131, 7 through 8, it says, "There's no such thing as immaterial matter. All spirit is matter, but it is more fine or pure. It can only be discerned by purer eyes. We cannot see it, but when our bodies are purified, we shall see that it is all matter." So our bodies, we know they're made of the elements of the earth, but our spirit is also made of matter. This is our soul. As we care for our bodies, we're also caring for our spirit. The ability to see spirit is linked to our spiritual and physical purification and our progression. Spiritual development with our bodies will allow us to perceive the true nature of spirit with our spiritual eyes, even beyond our current ability to perceive it with our physical eyes. Our physical bodies are made of the elements of the earth. When we take care of ourselves, we're taking care of the planet, we're taking care of our Mother Earth. And just on the flip side, when we take care of the earth in whatever form that looks like, I like to garden, we're also tending to our bodies. It's a cycle. And also our bodies are made of the elements of the earth. So our body that we get to be in right now, it's our little earth. We get to practice being creators. We are all created in the image of God. In the day that God created man, in the likeness of God made he him in the image of his own body, male and female, created he and blessed them. Having a physical body is a godlike attribute. We know that God is embodied. You're more like God with a body than without. There is a progressive nature that comes with having a body. Inherent in our body are powers and capabilities that enable us to continue to progress toward godhood. In Doctrine and Covenants, actually go back a slide. In Doctrine and Covenants 138, I wanted to point this out. That is Joseph F. Smith's vision of the spirit world. And in it, he says, "Among the great and mighty ones who were assembled in this vast congregation were our righteous father Adam, the Ancient of Days, and our glorious mother Eve, and many of her faithful daughters who had lived through the ages and worshipped the true and living God." And then in verse 50, he says, "For the dead had long looked upon the long absence of their spirits from their bodies as a bondage." When our spirits and our bodies are separated, they looked at it as a bondage. Go ahead to the next one. So it is power. We have power innate within us when we are embodied. We're on this earth. We have a body and our spirit combined. So I want to just walk us through just a little moment where we can connect with our body through some affirmations. I know as women in general, not always we feel this way, but sometimes we can be really hard on ourselves. Or we hear other women around us being hard on themselves, hard on their bodies. But it's a miraculous part of our eternal journey that we get to have a body. And our body is there for us to help us progress. So for some affirmations, this is just, we're gonna tap it into our bodies. Hopefully this one works. With our fingertips, you can decide where you want to tap. You can tap on your heart, your solar plexus, or your forehead, collarbone. And I've chosen these 3 affirmations for us. And I want you to decide what words are best for you. I included the word could, because some of these just might not be what we're ready for yet. It could be safe for me to love my body if it's not safe yet. So same with the second one, I'm going to keep it as it is. I have power because I have a body. And the third one, I could enjoy caring for my body, or I enjoy it. So let's all do that together. The first one, tap wherever you'd like on your chest or your solar plexus if you'd like to participate. It could. Yeah.
I love the invite is I'm learning.
I'm learning.
I'm learning to be safe in my body.
I love it.
Yeah.
It's a process. Thank you. Let's do that one first. I'm learning to be safe in my body. It could be safe for me to love my body. I'm going to repeat it again. It could be safe for me to love my body. It could be safe for me to love my body. And number two, if you want to modify this, you can, but I love it because it's true. I'm going to tap my power center, my solar plexus. I have power because I have a body. I have power because I have a body. I have power because I have a body. Number three, and everybody just take a deep breath before we say this one together. Breathe in, breathe out, exhale. I could enjoy caring for my body. I could enjoy caring for my body, or I enjoy caring for my body. Another affirmation that I thought of that I wanted to write down was, my body is a gift. You want to tap that in with me? My body is a gift. My body is a gift. My body is a gift. And if you, in the workbook, there's a spot where you can write down any others, like the ones that are shared. Does anybody else have an affirmation they want to share that came to them? Well, if any come to you, well, oh, go ahead.
I found that starting with my own statement helped. And so I often use, I am grateful that, I am grateful that.
I love that. She said, I am grateful. And using the I am statement, that is a very empowering statement. And we can choose to embody that I am. Go ahead.
The affirmation that I remember. So I remember my divine feminine.
I remember. I remember my divine feminine. Because we're all in process. We're all in the process of remembering.
I like to say I choose. Like I choose this, I choose that. Because to me, making an action, a choice.
I choose. So you're activating your agency when you make a choice. I choose to care for my body. And one more.
Excellent. I am body and spirit. So that the connecting goes together. So sometimes we separate them.
I love that. Thank you. I am body and spirit. Integrating the truth of I am. Thank you. Beautiful. Next slide. As female, spirit, and body, we can look to our Mother Eve to understand our feminine embodiment. In the Garden of Eden, we learn that title and role of Eve is the mother of all living. She was given this title before she bore any children of her own. As women, we embody the power to give life in order to multiply and replenish the earth and all creations that are formed from the elements of the earth, including our own body, our family, friends, plants, pets, and so on. We can give life in so many ways. Every spirit child of our heavenly parents who comes to mortal form is yoked to the elements of flesh and physical life through a woman. Even Adam partook of the fruit of mortality, of the fruit of knowledge of good and evil, through Eve. We, through the creation and the pattern of the creation, we can see that the days of creation were a division. We live in a mortal realm, and the elements were divided from each other. The example of dry land was separated from water, light divided from the darkness, man separated from woman. By the two trees placed in the Garden of Eden. And in 2 Nephi 2, it says that it must needs be there was an opposition, even the forbidden fruit, opposition to the tree of life, one being sweet, the other bitter. So we live in this world where the elements are divided, and because we have opposition, it allows us to have the experiences that we need to gain knowledge. Opposition is required for us to be able to act, to make choices using our agency, and to gain the knowledge that comes from experiencing the opposites of this realm. Women embody the power to bring together. In a world of opposition in the elements that we're around, we bring with us the power to bring together. What are the things that women bring together? Spirit form to physical form, light and life to the body, husband and wife, mother and child. Just like when a baby's born and a mother brings her baby to the breast. We can also have that same power used to bring communities and families together. Women are symbolically, as we've heard in other presentations today, women are symbolically temples. A temple is a place where heaven and earth meet. The female body is a type of temple or conduit or veil or vessel between the spirit and physical matter. Mary, the mother of Jesus, is an archetype. She's a precious and chosen vessel. Her body was a temple for Jesus. In ancient temples, sacrifices, blood sacrifices were made. In the ancient temples, there would be a priest who would officiate in an animal sacrifice, whether on behalf of himself, the people, or the person who's bringing that sacrifice. And this was a practice performed in the temples. But as women, we embody a temple and we make our own offering of blood sacrifice. We innately offer sacrifices through our body of menstruation, pregnancy, birth, and lactation. And Mary, in the scripture, Luke 1:28, I love Mary and her example. And she's another woman that we can look to in the scriptures of this type and being a temple. The angel came in unto her and said, Hail, thou art highly favored of the Lord. The Lord is with thee. Blessed art thou among women. And Mary said, Behold, the handmaid of the Lord, be it unto me according to thy word. Mary was a willing conduit to offer the sacrifice necessary to bring forth the Savior, who offered the greatest sacrifice of all for all of us. I have a couple of pictures up here of me, kind of vulnerable, but I have, like I said, like we said, I have 4 children, and I've had some really sacred experiences with birth. Women in the sacrifices we embody, one of those including birth. Birth can be, receiving a body is essential for the eternal progression. Birth can be likened unto an ordinance. An ordinance is defined as a physical act with deep spiritual meaning. This picture, so I have, like I said, I have 4 kids. I've had a variety of birth experiences. My first baby was born in a hospital and I was induced. I didn't love that experience. So my second baby, I sought to have a home birth with a midwife. And it was a beautiful and empowering experience for me. And I always, with future children, was like, if I can have a home birth safely, I will. That would be what I would choose. With my third baby, I did have a home birth, and that's this picture up at the top. A home water birth with a midwife helping. And it was an empowering and sacred experience. A few years later, for a few years, I was being prompted that I needed to bring another child to this earth, but I didn't want to. Have you ever felt that feeling? I'm shocked. And what do you, the feeling and the urgency and the promptings, they grew greater and greater and closer and closer together. My third baby to my fourth baby are 5 years apart. And so it took me a few years to open the door. And in the struggle of, I don't want to, but I know, Spirit knows I need to bring this soul. who perhaps I covenanted with before this life, I can't remember, but I feel it, that I need to bring the soul here. And so jumping forward, I was pregnant with my 4th baby, and I said the same. I was planning my 3rd home birth and still kept the narrative, as long as it's safe for me to have a home birth, I will. Planned the home birth. At 20 weeks, I had an ultrasound that showed placenta is kind of close to the cervix. As long as everything grows the way it should, you'll be fine. And with my 3rd pregnancy, which you see that photo of, the same story. It's like, oh yeah, my placenta will move up, the belly will grow bigger, it'll be fine, and I'll be able to have a home birth. But with this 4th pregnancy, by 30, I did a few more ultrasounds along the way. It's still really close, but there's still time. By 36 weeks, a follow-up ultrasound, your placenta hasn't moved. In fact, it's closer to your cervix. And my midwife risked me out of a home birth. So at 36 weeks, going into 37 weeks, I actually started to spot. I had some spotting. And my husband was about to go out of town. I'll set the time frame. It was March 2020. Okay, the world had not shut down yet, but we were very close. The spotting, my bleeding, was a sign that I needed to change course. And my midwife helped me find an OB, and I was like, okay, maybe I can still have a vaginal birth. And I did home births because I was terrified of having a C-section, and I wanted to avoid that at all costs. Okay, this was my worst fear. I go meet with this new OB. I'm like, this is why I avoided this. Poor bedside manner, all that fun stuff. Anyway, he walked in the room. He said, "You need a C-section at 37 weeks." I was like, "I am 37 weeks. Nice to meet you." Okay, so just to fast forward a little bit, but this journey, it was the path I didn't want to take. And I think about Mary, and I'm not saying she didn't want to do that, but I call on her strength, where she said, "Behold, the handmaid of the Lord, be it unto me according to thy word." I prayed and I asked for clarity. If I need to have a C-section, just make it really clear. I don't want to take that path. It's not my will, but I will be done. And I had another ultrasound the next day. My placenta had grown into my cervical tissue, and I had partial placenta previa. It was really clear I needed a C-section. There was no other way. So it was scheduled for the next Sunday, when I'd be exactly 38 weeks. At first, the OB was like, "We'll do it on Saturday." And I was like, "No, my older son, not that one, but the previous one, he's getting baptized." And I knew, which is an example of my mother's intuition, I knew he needed to get baptized. It was March 7th, 2020, he got baptized, okay? I didn't know what was coming, but I knew. And I followed that, and I told the OB, "No, I can't do it on Saturday." He's like, "Okay, Sunday morning, like 5 a.m. Like, okay. So my son got baptized. It all worked out. If he had not been baptized that day, it would have been like 6 months before he would have been able to, because the world shut down after that. So leading up to this, I knew I needed to have a C-section. I walked into that OR room that morning, so scared, but had so much peace. For strength, praying for strength to be on my own. I walked in, I laid down on I sat up on the OR table and got some medicine in my bag. Then I laid down. I laid down on that table and I put my arms out and I laid down my life for my child. I didn't know that's what I was doing at the time, but it was in similitude in some small way where I got to know my Savior and what it was like for him to sacrifice his life for me. And I got to do that for my child, a sacred sacrifice. I laid down on the OR table with my arms out. They started this C-section procedure. The numbing medicine didn't work. Okay. And I guess I was just one of those rare ones, okay? So they're like, the anesthesiologist, "I'm sorry, like, hasn't kicked in yet." You won't be able to feel fake. Your baby's born like you wanted. But at the same time, this is one of the most tender mercies that I've experienced from God. It was God saying, you've done enough. Okay. So, I got to be sedated, which was a great blessing. So the rest of what transpired, I got to hear about from my husband, who was not great with blood, okay? Blood sacrifice, okay? So I got to go to sleep, and they got the baby out just fine, handed him to my husband. They needed to take the placenta out next, and to get the placenta separated from my cervical tissue. I hemorrhaged on the operating table. And my husband recounted to me that he has a baby now, and his going through his mind, what if I lose her? What am I gonna do? As the OB soaked towel after towel after towel, and they take it to weigh the towels to measure how much blood loss. And I hemorrhaged. But during this experience, I'll call it a near-death experience. I got to feel between the veil. I didn't cross the veil, but I had a priesthood blessing before this experience that said, the angels are watching to see what you will choose. And now I know what that meant. And in this space, I'll call it between the veil, I didn't see God, see anything, but my spirit knew the experience I was having. I got to feel God's pure love and him basically say to me, you get to choose. It's your life. You get to choose. And because God's love was pure, unattached from my choice was free. It gave me my agency, because no matter what I chose to stay or to pass through the veil, God's love was pure either way. It was pure, unattached to my choices. And it was important for me to share that with you, because God's love is pure and he loves us. Our agency cannot be separated from God's love. They go together because his love is pure. And from our presentation earlier, I love these words, Megan. Sacrifice unto death because of love to give life. And that's what I got to embody in my experience. So between the veil, I chose to stay, so you can see me here right now. And when I chose to stay, the hemorrhaging stopped. This picture is of me right after waking up from that experience, holding my baby for the first time in my body. I chose to stay. And from that moment on, well, the understanding had to come slowly to understand what had just transpired. I'm not a victim to my life. I chose my life. And before that experience, I really struggled. Do I have a choice to bring this baby here? Do I have a choice? I want to be obedient. Do I have a choice? Yes, we have a choice. Our agency is ours and God loves us. So this is my sacred sacrifice that I want to share with you. And I know that all women and all mothers make sacrifices, whether it be for their children, their family, their husband, their parents. We embody sacred sacrifice. Sacrifice unto death because of love to give life. So, next slide. Here I am to teach yoga, and I'm so grateful that I get to be here. Not taking for granted the opportunity is to be here, to be a mother to my children, and to be embodied in my body. And I know that through other sacrifices that other women make, they don't always have that voice necessarily. Behold the handmaid of the Lord, be it unto me according to thy word. So I've been certified as a yoga teacher through Bodhi Yoga. And yoga, I learned, means to yoke or bring together the mind, the body, and spirit. So yoga is one way that we can connect those parts. Sometimes we may experience that, like, it's too hard to be in my body sometimes. I have to feed it, take care of it, all these things, but yoga is an opportunity for us to come home to our body. So we have our physical body as well as our spirit body, or all, in maybe more yoga terms, our light body. Our light body, we could talk about this in more yoga language, but I feel that it's important to talk about it from just the language of light, the light body, the light in us that emanates from us, or our life force. So our prana, our physical body is part of this, and then we have a life force. If you just want to take your hands, maybe rub them together for a second, and just hold your hand maybe an inch, half inch above your arm or your legs. And you might need to close your eyes to do this, but just do you feel the warmth or the energy that emanates from you? If I can't feel it on my arms because I'm cold, sometimes my legs work better. This is your prana, your life force. And in our light body, we also have these layers of emotion, mental thought, and source. But I wanted to focus on the light that we all embody. From a spiritual view, this is the light of Christ. The light of Christ is defined as the divine energy, power, or influence that proceeds from God through Christ and gives light and life to all things. The light of Christ proceedeth forth from the presence of God to fill the immensity of space. And I loved from Jocelyn's presentation, she was talking about the geometry and how to build the structure for it to flow in. And I just thought about from that, like how our bodies, they're a physical structure, but they are the space that the light can flow in. The same light of Christ. The light that gives life to us. In your workbook, there's this little thing. I'm actually not going to go into it super deep, but either just by using your intention, you can just hold your hands open and just intentionally, like, I need to receive light. Whether it's my life force feels low or I'm depleted or whatever it is, super simple is just you hold your hands open and you intention to receive more light. There's also some little, like, you can just go through these little finger points to be more specific, but it's in the workbook. If you want to use that as a tool, you can. Okay, so before we go into our movement, hopefully we've digested a little bit by now. I want to talk about the type of movement in our yoga practice today that we'll be doing. So some of you might have heard of chakras. These are just energy centers in our body, spots in our body that the light can connect to. We're going to be doing a kind of like a feminine movement. I loved the hula earlier because it got us ready. That, you know, that spiraling motion and hip movement. So with our chakras, we have a root chakra, a sacral chakra, solar plexus, heart, throat, brow, and crown chakra. And at the base of the spine, where our root chakra is, there's a latent creative energy. This is the Mother Earth energy down here. So I put the word down here at the bottom. What this type of movement can do can help us connect with that Mother Earth energy and pull it up from the earth through movement, through our chakras, bringing it up to crown, chakra. And up in here, we think about like Divine Father or thought and perception. But this is up where our crown chakra is, and we're bringing that energy from earth and the feminine up to the masculine energy, to our Divine Father. And when we brought that energy up, it becomes refined, and then we bring it back down just through movement. So I wanted to share that with you just so that we're just bringing feminine life force, embodiment energy up, but utilizing our body as that vessel to connect our body with earth energy and with divine light. So from here, I think we're going to take a few minutes to transition into our movement portion, but we will need a mat if you have one. We're going to try to fit over here, but we might need to move, just scoot a few tables just to have a little bit more mat space if we can squeeze in. The yoga movement that we'll be doing is really gentle, but it is a very like spinning type of motion in some of it. We're bringing energy up. So I'll say this before we disperse for a moment. Yoga is always your practice. So if anything that I'm offering to you doesn't feel comfortable to you, then don't do it. If something would hurt or you have an injury, of course, please, you are the authority of your practice. So please tune into your body and what feels right for you. We're going to do a yoga chant. You can just listen if you don't want to participate in that. That's fine too. But just that's the disclaimer, is that this is your practice. So it's your responsibility to make sure that you're doing movement that's acceptable for your body. So let's go get our mats and try to squeeze together. If you have a blanket that you can sit on a little bit, that would be great.
If you're in one of these first 4 tables here in front, can you squeeze them together, because there's actually 2 tables in that circle, and scoot them back? And we're just gonna kind of make some more room up here. Yep, these tables here in the front. If you can just squeeze your tables together and push them back. The middle table, you'll need to probably put